welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today was it May 10th, 2023, and we have CPI that is not as bad as what everyone wanted it to be. Therefore, we get big, massive, gargantuan, earth-shaking green candles. Bender, how are you, sir?
I'm all right. Thanks.
Bender is all right. All right. So we get inflation data coming in. It's definitely cooler year over year, month over month. There was an increase. Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised looking at the overall reaction, but it is what it is. The market wants to push higher. We've seen over the last, let's say, several months, it's just the never-ending selling on the VIX, and not only the VIX, but UVXY, just sell. Green can sell. We also have the dollar now pushed down pretty low, all things being considered over the last, if you sit here and look at it daily, we're right back to where we were in mid-January. Or late January, those lows there, we're right back in that little range, that little target range. So the question is, what the question always is, now what, ladies and gentlemen? Now what? To answer that, I think in some ways we can look at the flow. Flow has not been bearish. We've been trading in a very, very boring to neutral market over the past week or so. Just chop. Today we get the data. Today we get the surge. Here we go. Now, we still have the overhanging debt ceiling debate and conversation. I think everybody, for the most part, is like, yeah, no, they're going to play chicken for as long as they possibly can. And then ultimately it's going to be fixed. So it's really no big deal. But ultimately things are no big deal until they become a big deal. And right now the market is not even thinking that it's a big deal. So therefore we have to look at it kind of, sort of, just maybe in the same way. I think at this point, flow today is going to be absolutely important. What are we doing? Are we seeing calls come in on the Qs over 330? Are we? Are we seeing some of that 420 action pouring back into the SPY machine? What are we seeing? Are we seeing put writing? Or are we saying that, hey, this might be as good as it gets, and it starts going counter to normal logic, and now we get a sell-off? I don't know. That's the question of the day. Probably the question of the week, maybe the question of the month, because we are in May. What is it? Sell in May, go away. Right now, they ain't selling. Boy, they are buying. They're doing everything that you can possibly imagine but sell. So with this being said, Bender, what do you have for us?
Well, here's a 1 hour chart on the ES. Currently trading 41.65 half. Yeah, this is quite the move this morning. You can see that yellow line down there, 41.20 half. That was the low from 4 a.m. Eastern to currently 41.65. The little purple shaded box right here that you see, that is the 50% area to 61.8% area. So if we see some sort of pullback, that would be an area to keep an eye on if they decide to pull this thing back. As you can imagine, we left quite a bit behind on this move up. You'll see that better when I zoom in, looking at the 15-minute. But you can see this first yellow line, the high from the 3rd. That's a 41.67. So we've crossed that level. Next thing I got would be 41.74.25. That's kind of the top of this candle here that was left open, this 1 hour candle. We make it through that. We've got this high from the 2nd. It's 41.91 half. And then all the way up here, 42.0675. Zooming in to look. This orange line I put here, that's our 41.48, right? Every time we've moved away from 41.48 to 41.50, we've come back to it. So I'm going to keep that on watch as well. On know how the open shakes out. I wouldn't be surprised with this type of move. You know, is today going to be gap and go, or are we going to, you know, get that back test? Remains to be seen, but these are kind of the levels that that I will be keeping on watch. I think, you know, first things first, does this stay open? Right in here, down to 4150. Let's just call it 4150, but do they leave this open and continue this push? There's not a whole lot else. I mean, we know where we've been for the last, you know 4 hour. It's like, this is where we've been, going all the way back here to April 14th and further. Every time we get away from 4150, we pull back to it. So is today the day that they put it in the rear view? Maybe.
You know, it's a great question. It's like when you have that data coming in the way that it is, so then you have to ask the question. It's like, so regardless of whether or not we pause on the rates or whatever, this whole thing is with the rates in the Fed, whatever dumb fucking game they're playing over there. The reality is them raising would be absolutely ridiculous. So we can say that unless data starts to shift and change. So now the question turns away from the inflation question and more into the recession question, as far as will it, won't it? Will it, won't it? And that is really going to be I think the narrative moving forward. I think, and the whole question of inflation is gone. I think it's one of those things that nobody really cares about in a real way. I think that narrative is beat to holy shit. And based on this overall move this morning, based on data that while it was good, it wasn't like, oh my God, we need to be up 2%. Was not that. So now what? Now what are we doing? Now, how are we going ahead and looking at these earnings over the last quarter? We've seen several guide down, really no real guide ups going in for some of these mega caps. Where does the consumer stand? Where does everything stand? How do we go? And based on these charts, it's like, how do we not go up there and tickle 4,200? How do we not? Bender,
Well,
how do we not go tickle?
As we know, as long as they buy it, then we go up. If they stop buying it, then we don't.
Yeah.
Then we don't get to do that.
Yeah. Just absolutely wild. So it gets, I think one of the things when you take the narrative that's been out there and then you put it up against the chart, it's like some of these guys are just straight up lying. I don't even know that they believe the words coming out of their mouths when they say these things, as far as, oh, you know, we're going back to 3,500 or, you know, 33, or no, ultimately we're going to reside at 2,800. It's like, those people that were saying that, is like, how stupid are you? How dumb are you is really the question of the day. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is where is the price? Where does it go? How much is stuff? Because that's how much it costs. Now, in saying all this, we can pull back, we can retest, we can recheck. There's levels below. We have gaps below that we have not even played with. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. But it's like, what have these people been talking about? What have they been talking about? Bender, what have they been talking about?
What people are you talking about?
I'm talking about the doom and gloom. Everything is dead and over with. Oh. America is now, you know, second fiddle to what? I don't even know who.
We're going to default, and we're going to lose our credit rating or something.
Right. That'll be the next conversation.
That's going to end the world as we know it. That's what I've been.
It's like, look, it's like when you have multiple bank failures and they continue to buy, you have average earnings, they continue to buy. You get like a little cool down year over year and they continue to buy. They're buying, not selling. And so here we are. And so anything that was coming out of everybody's mouth beforehand, you got to look at it and be like, you just need to shut up. You need not talk anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. What you got there, Sonny?
Morning, everyone. Starting with the upgrades, not many up there. The only one I noticed, Celsius, Bender's favorite, CELH. Downgrades, whole bunch of them. Bros, BROS, double downgrade by JP Morgan and TD Cowen. Twilio got a downgrade. PayPal, Airbnb, Plug, Rivian. Airbnb had a good year, but they guided down, so it's down, I think, this morning. Roblox had their year this morning. The numbers weren't good, sank, but I think the CPI saved them. They're back to where they were before the ER and looking like cup and handle formation. UPSD had a good ER. It's a high squeeze, short interest name, 37%. So keep an eye on that. It could keep squeezing today. Google has an event today where they'll probably release new products, talk about their AI moves against Microsoft. And different partnerships and alliances. So keep an eye on the flow. There was like 110, 111 flow that had come in. It went down with the market yesterday. On the car side, there's a Future of the Car conference, and one of the notable speakers is the Mobileye CEO today, MBLY. Keep an eye on that. Pool side, it was pretty mediocre. The only big one that I noticed was on NVIDIA. They came in hot and heavy on that. I'll post that in the room. Wolf also had a nice dark pool, 23% off the 30-day average at 40.86. That's it.
Not very good. So if there's one thing that you can look at as far as what you brought in today, what would it be? The one ticker that you were like, okay, I got to keep peeled on this.
I may not trade today because I had bought the 110 puts at ABNB 10 minutes before close yesterday.
Okay.
So I'm going to close them out and just chill.
All right. Very good. Stonkington, Paging Stonkington, what you got, buddy?
What's up, Dr. Stonky in the building? Hello. All right.
You're a doctor now.
Yeah, self-proclaimed. That's a thing, right?
I think so.
Okay, cool. Let's see. Why don't we start with...
You got to share your screen.
Oh, yeah, I can do that too. Let's see. Bam.
Stonky joined.
I joined. All right. Let's see. So we could start. Why don't we start with the book today, the studies, and we can talk about what the macro book says about CPI, right? Because this is impactful. Let's see. So basically, it's an attempt to measure inflation. I guess we kind of know that. Includes personal consumption, price index, producer prices, import prices, employment costs, labor units, GDP deflator. And then let's see, the weight in CPI. Big portion is housing, which is interesting because, we've seen mortgage rates and home prices skyrocket. 41% housing, 15% food, 17% transportation, and then the rest is medical, apparel, recreation, education, other goods. Interesting stuff. This one that was kind of interesting to me was how they break down explaining how they would measure inflation price. And because there are certain indicators for the market that only take the price of a good changing, which doesn't necessarily, capture the inflation itself, because the example they used, we can convert it to something that will apply for some of those Roadhouse people better. Say you got a lap dance and it cost you $100 and it lasted 1 hour. And then the next year, that same lap dance cost you $200, but it was 2 hours long. So in that case, there wouldn't have been any inflation because, the price matched the adjustment in the amount of time. So it's like, it's that kind of adjustment to the metric, you have some people that will capture that as, wow, the cost really went up there for the same item, but it's like, if it really has no impact on the actual inflation versus like when they say, oh, well, you get to pay $100 for a 2-hour lap dance, then you're like, okay, well, now I'm saving, and this is actually lowering inflation, even if, say, the price was to go up, but you're getting more. So there you go. Yeah, Green Beret Trader is going to go find himself some 2-hour lap dances. Go get it.
Right. I just say I think it's important that we ask the question. Stonkington, what is your experience with lap dances?
I was just gonna ask the same thing.
You don't go in there for 2 hours? What? Come on, guys.
Are you are you like trying to get her life story? Are you?
I mean, if I have some free time on a quiet Sunday afternoon, what better way to go past the
You get the
time?
crab legs too?
No, I go for the wings.
There
He
you go.
goes to the one near the Sacramento airport, out in the fields.
Oh, Lord. All right. All right. We
All right,
got to turn this back around. What else? What you got?
Yeah,
for us,
yeah.
Stonk?
Let's get into it. I'm digging this book though. I'll just drop this in the room. So I don't know. Anyone else is trying to learn more about the macros? This is there we go. Okay. All right, oh yeah, you guys can see this, so let's look at it. All right, we can look at the Russell first. So this is that bullish channel I was talking about yesterday. We can see we broke it. And so I mean, technically this box here would have been filled in on the pop. Mint Dragon's gonna distract me in there. All right, so let's look at so why I've marked up some of this. So we were talking about yesterday, Mr. T would be looking for an up close candle to call an order block, which technically this is a down close candle. So I'm kind of taking the tip from Al Brooks where he's like, this down close candle, if we check out different time frames, we would eventually see that there was obviously some up close candles to be a part of it. So right here, this would be a Mr. T order block line, which you can clearly see it coming into play right there. So just going to kind of see what the Russell would do, and then it's like Mr. T style. If we push up, then we would look for a retest of this line and see if it's going to be a breaker. Basically, that's one of his things. And then let's see, I marked up this one. You can kind of see another order block style right there. Just an up close candle that was for a bear to basically take it lower. So that's kind of the idea behind some of those. Let's see. All right, so that's what I'd be looking for on the Russell. I just want to see what we do with this line, and then above that, if we can make it up here, there's another potential order block line there, and then we just sliced right through these fair value gaps with the pop. So we'll kind of see if we have to pull back. Let's look at the NQ. So we still this is a daily fair value gap that is still open over here. So if we made it this far, and then if we're going to continue with this megaphone I've been talking about for however many weeks now, we still have a little ways to go up there. So below, let's see. So here we go again. This would be our order block, and this green line here is going to be the midpoint. And we can see its importance as well right there. And then this was a bearish order block line that I had previously, and we can see that. So again, this would be the one we would be watching for a potential breaker. If we're going to pull back, see what we do on the NQ at 350.25. So that's for the bigger indices that I'll be watching. We can swap over to Microsoft. So originally, when I was looking at price action overnight, I had this as the put trigger and this is the call trigger. So adjusting pre-market, we can clearly see the reaction to this line right here. So I'll be looking at 309.30 for Microsoft to continue to the upside. And then below, I'd just be watching this, what was originally going to be the call trigger, this 308.05, whatever, close enough on the fibs. I usually round it off. So that's what I'd be looking at for Microsoft. Still in this kind of like rising wedge type of setup. So we'll just kind of see what we get there. But that was a daily inside bar, this candle here, and now we're still inside that range. So we could see some nice momentum there on Microsoft if we get the pop. And then NVIDIA. Oh, better spell it right. There we go. All right, so similar. Let's see. This 287.70, that was yesterday's put trigger, and it worked pretty nice. So this is yesterday. Retest. So it's a pretty important line. So if we're going to pull back, see what we get there, and then above, this was fib lining up with where we're pausing, this 290.25, and then here's this dark pool that Sonny mentioned that came in last night, 285.71. So if we're going to pull back, I'll be first watching that 287.70 and then the 285.71. And that is all I've got.
All right, very good. So we know what the score is. We got big green candles. We have, I'm assuming, a fairly decent gap up with not a lot of volume filling in between on this monster move. 3 million shares, that's more than what we've had in a hell of a long time pre-market. So there is that to kind of counterbalance a little bit. Now, I will say this. We do get PPI tomorrow. PPI is what the Fed says that they say that they care about a lot. So that's what they say that they care about. So PPI being tomorrow, we'll see what we get with that. If it's not one thing, it's another obstacle, another this, another that. We also get jobless claims tomorrow at the same time. What we should be looking at, cheering for if you're bull or bear, Lord knows at this point. But we do know that until we start seeing some actual buying in some capacity within the VIX, that odds are that we continue to push higher. So with all that being said, Bender, Stonkington, Sonny, you guys have anything else?
No, sure.
I'm good.
All right.
Nope, I'm good.
All right, 16 minutes still open. Digest this information the best you can, and we'll see you shortly. Thanks again.
See you soon.